for joining us tonight. And like I said, we'll try to be short and sweet and give you as many ideas as we can. But if you have questions, go down below to where it says chat and go ahead and type up your question. And I'll be keeping tabs on all the questions, and we will answer them at the end of our presentation. So I just want to introduce the three members of IPC, which stands for International Projects Committee. We have lots of initials, so I always wondered if people know what they stand for. So the International Projects Committee, all 5 projects are under the guise of this committee. Becky Schmidt is our chair, and she will be sharing information on the STAR Scholarship. Cecile is second year, although actually more than second year, and she is in charge of program for continuing ed, as well as IPS, the International Peace Scholarship. And Sherry is our new member, Ulrich, from Chapter BI, and she is in charge of the P.E.O. Scholar Awards and the ELF. So several of you have either extra stars or extra scholars, and we ask you to send them to IPC. And these are the ladies who will be just divvying them out. So with that, I will turn it over to Cecile.
Well, welcome. Tonight we'll cover the STAR and the Scholar Awards. The other awards will be covered in a webinar that will be available in the future. And remember that we are here for you. If we cannot answer your questions, we'll contact International and find out the answer to your question. All of the information that we're giving you is available on the P.E.O. Georgia website, including programs for you to share with your chapter. So again, as Laura said, we'll save time at the end for questions. One note before we begin, the committee often receives forms from International for candidates for the Scholar Award, the Educational Loan Fund, and the Program for Continuing Education. So in order for all chapters, to give all chapters the opportunity to sponsor a candidate, we've developed a spreadsheet, and all chapters in Georgia are randomly listed. We use this chart to offer all chapters the opportunity to sponsor a candidate, even if your chapter may not be located near the student or her school. Just remember that you can always interview candidates using Zoom or a similar platform. So if your chapter is interested in sponsoring a candidate, we will do our best to match one with you. So now I will turn it over to Becky to share information about STAR.
Yep, actually, we just wanted to put plug in here for Kathleen's goal. Just sponsoring a project applicant is one of the things here. So hopefully we're going to give you some tips tonight on how to do that for a couple of the projects. So STAR, and actually before I start on STAR, if any of you, I want to give a little bit of a plug for joining a state committee. This is my 3rd year on this committee. It's my first time doing anything with the state. And if any of you have ever thought about it, I would say do it. I had a lot of concerns, will I have the time? How am I going to learn enough to be of help? And there's so many resources available to help you, and it's been a wonderful experience. So if any of you are thinking about joining a state committee, I encourage you to do it. So STAR, as everybody probably knows, it's $2,500 scholarship for women in high school. The criteria, and part of the reason we're talking about both STAR and PSA tonight is, number one, they're both very competitive, and number two, the application windows are open for both of them right now. So for STAR, there's really 5 keys that they look at. Grade point average is one of them, and it's a minimum 3.0, but that's really only one area and kind of a little bit of a smaller area, you might say. But it's really leadership, academics, extracurricular activities, community and volunteer service, and the potential for future success. And so we'll go through kind of how an applicant goes through this process, but just keep in mind that that's really what they're looking at. And the way they get that criteria is from the application itself, but it's the chapter recommendation, the essay, and the references are three key things that help the panel determine whether a student qualifies. Most of this is available on the website, and most of you are probably aware of kind of the program recaps, but I will just hit a couple of these. The window is open August 15th to October 15th. It is a very tight deadline. 11:59, it shuts off. Don't wait till the last minute. I've had 3 chapters in the last 2 days kind of reach out with technical problems getting the applications done. So just allow yourself plenty of time to do that. As you probably know, chapters can only submit 1 candidate per year. If any of you are interested in sponsoring a STAR candidate and don't have one, let me know. There are a couple chapters that have more than 1 candidate. And so we might have some names that we can pass along to you. So please reach out. And again, the very last point there, last year for the first time, all STAR applicants were offered direct admission to COTI as well as an academic scholarship. Now that is all applicants. That's not just the people that got the scholarship. That's all applicants. And accepting that does not impact whether they get a STAR scholarship or not. And that will be repeated again this year. They haven't committed that that's going to be a forever kind of thing. It probably depends a little bit on COTI enrollment, but it will be offered to successful 24 applicants as well. I mentioned STAR is competitive. First of all, from about 8,800 scholarships, $22 million. So incredible number of women that have been supported through STAR. For 23-24, there were 1,000 scholarships granted out of about 2,200 applicants. So just under 50% of the applicants received an award. And in that same year, Georgia did a little bit better than half. We had 22 scholarships out of 35 applications. The results for last year are not yet published. They're still verifying college enrollment of the STAR awardees, but Georgia did submit 39 applications, so slightly more than the year before. So as you can see, the real question when we get into how these applications is how can you make your candidate shine? And the first way is through the chapter recommendation. The 5 questions at the bottom there are the questions that the chapter is asked in the application document. And you have a limited, I think it's 200 words per question to answer it. So the key is, how can you use every word to really make your candidate, be a strong advocate for your candidate? So instead of talking about what she did in extracurricular activities, talk about what the result was. How did she make a positive impact on the community? Same thing with community service. Give examples of what it led to. And leadership qualities as well. Does your candidate, what does she want to do in the future? Does she have a defined vision? And can you give examples of things she's doing to help get her to that vision? And it's not necessarily just about the courses she's taking. It's more about the whole person. So it's really important to just pay attention to those kinds of things as you do in the recommendation. The other thing is you can help your candidate with her application. You can't actually view her application for confidentiality reasons, but we're dealing with a lot of, as you guys know, really qualified high school seniors. So they may have a lot more extracurricular activities or community service than the space allows for in the application. So you could help guide them to ensure that they have the most meaningful ones, that they're stating them in the most impactful way, kind of help your candidate highlight her accomplishments, help her to kind of brag a little bit about herself. The essays are really important. The STAR trustees had a call, I guess it's been a little more than a month ago now, to talk about kind of how they look at candidates and decide who gets the scholarships. And they really touched on the essay and the quality of the essay. They're looking for it well-written, organized, and that it really talks about the STAR qualities and the things that the candidate is asked to talk on. One of the trustees made a comment that, they can usually tell if a essay's been submitted that is something they maybe used for another application, and they just submitted the same essay, and that's not, viewed upon very favorably, I believe were her words. So it's just, help encourage your candidate to really write a strong essay. One other tip is to really coordinate the timing of when you submit your recommendation, because the candidate, once you submit it, the candidate will then get a link to start their application, and they only have 30 days from the time you submit to when they have to submit their application. And submitting a complete application includes 2 references. So you just want to make sure your candidate is really ready when you submit, that there's no reason to submit the minute the deadline is open. You want to coordinate with your candidate, make sure that they're ready at the same time. And then, as I said before, don't, kind of wait till the last minute. And then a couple thoughts on references. So the candidate needs to have 2 references. The 5 questions here again are the questions the reference will be asked to comment on. And the key is to make sure that the references really know the candidate well and they're willing to take the time, because these questions aren't really kind of check the box kind of questions. Number 4, if you were to choose one aspect that you admire most, and why does it make her exceptional? It needs to be somebody that really knows the candidate and can really be a strong advocate for her. So those are kind of some tips on STAR, and I can't see, I'm in presentation mode, so I can't tell, but has Sherry joined, hopefully?
Yes, I'm here.
Yay, there you go. We'll turn it over to PSA then, put you on the spot. I don't know how long you've been listening. I know your internet was down today.
Yeah, my internet went down this afternoon, so I had to find a friend with an office to let me use. So I'm going to share a little bit about the Scholar Award. It's a one-time merit-based scholarship that awards up to $25,000. So it's a pretty good scholarship. It's available only to women who are pursuing a doctoral level degree. It's open to women who are citizens of or are legal permanent residents of the United States or Canada. It's for women who are excelling in their fields. These ladies are really quite impressive and have a lot going on. It's very exciting. So I thought I'd talk a little bit, first of all, about how to get a candidate for a PSA. A lot of chapters have somebody, they're either close to a university or they know somebody connected to a university who can refer women to them. And sometimes, well, a lot of times those chapters that have a lot of referrals, they have more candidates than they can possibly sponsor. So they will send them on to other chapters. We also get some referrals from international women who are looking to find a chapter to sponsor them. Trying to get into my notes here because my internet was shut down. So need a second. So a lot of what I do in my job is try to match up candidates with chapters. So if you are a chapter that's looking to sponsor somebody for the Scholar Award, please let me know. I have placed 7 applicants with chapters over the last several weeks, and I just found out yesterday that I have 4 more that are coming down. So I'll be looking for chapters for those ladies too. Another place that you can look in your around, if you have not received a referral, you may know somebody in your neighborhood, at church, at school, at work, a friend or a relative of a friend or a relative. So just keep your eyes open for any kind of outstanding woman who is looking for a nice scholarship. Okay, the candidate does not need to reside in the state that your chapter is in. And there are a lot of similarities to what Becky was talking about with the star in terms of what you're looking for in your letter to her and what we're looking for in the candidate. And Laura, you can go ahead and advance that slide. So the statistics, the scholarship was established in 1991. And they have awarded $36.7 million to women. As you can see, it is uber competitive. Georgia last year nominated 37 applicants and 3 of them were successful. So you can see that it's pretty competitive and we want to really present a great candidate. And Laura, you can go ahead and advance again. So we're going to talk a little bit about writing your nomination letter. And like Becky talked about, we really want to make this candidate, we want to highlight her and just make her look as good as we possibly can. I'm kind of trying and looking for chapters to place applicants with. I've been kind of trying to match up the geography so that, you know, maybe the applicant can be somewhere near the chapter that's interested in sponsoring her. It doesn't always work out that way. It's great if you can meet with your applicant in person. That's not always possible. And so video conferencing is fine. A phone interview would be the absolute last resort. And you might want to actually interview your applicant more than once in order to really get an idea of who she is and what she's about and some of the things that really set her apart. You might want to know what are her interests, what kind of volunteer work has she done, does she play any sports, does she have hobbies, does she have clubs? Also, is there a possibility that she could have a PEO connection? Doesn't matter if she does or not, but that's a way that we can know her in a different way. Okay. If you do know somebody in your chapter who knows this woman, you might want to include them in the interview so they can help to make her feel a little bit more at ease.
We print all this out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then she's going to, you can go ahead and advance again, Laura. Okay. So when we're writing a letter, we want to keep in mind that we can only have 200 to 300 words in the letter. So you're going to not want to reiterate things that have already, that will show up in her application or in some letters of recommendation from her university professors or other professional mentors. You might want to highlight some areas that may not be included in those. You want to talk to her about her research, and has she shared that with a chapter and a program? Has she talked about her goals and her research and what she hopes to accomplish? What is significant about her work? How is she outstanding? And how will she have an impact on the future with her studies and her research? And then try to make.
Thinking it's always research.
I'm sorry. Okay, I heard somebody there. Okay. It is definitely, or sometimes it's better to wait for her to get further into her program, to give her a little more time to have accomplished some things in her program and to give a more thorough picture of what she's working on. If you submit your candidate and they're unsuccessful, they can be submitted again the next year, as long as they're within the same time frame. And also, I thought that I would throw out that if your candidate is not successful, you might want to recommend that she apply for the ELF loan. Okay, the window is open. It opened August 20th, is open until November 20th. There's really not an advantage to submitting it early. Once the application is submitted, or once the nomination letter is submitted, the candidate will have 45 days to complete her application. And even if your letter of nomination is submitted on November 20th, she would still have the 45 days. So it's, you know, maybe not a rush to get it in before that. If you have found an applicant and you're sponsoring her, it's suggested that you try to get to know her a little bit, maybe invite her to a chapter social, kind of keep in touch with her, check on her, see how she's doing. Also consider her to be a potential PEO member in the future. Let's see, is there another slide here, Laura? Nope, that was the last
I
slide.
don't think so. Yep, I think time for questions.
Yeah.
Well, I have 3 questions that came up in the chat. Janice wanted to know, they have 2-star candidates. How do we share them? How do they get the information to other chapters, or how do we get it to IPC?
Yeah, you can, I think on the next page, I've got our email. Yep, there's our project email. So you can feel free to, once you've chosen your candidates, send any others you got over to us, and we'll work to find a chapter.
And Cleta wanted to know what information is needed to submit to you all about the candidates for other chapters to use. What all information should they send to us to give it to other chapters?
Yeah, there's no set form. It's really whatever you know, whatever made you consider the candidate. So presumably before you chose your candidate, you went through a bit of a vetting process. So I know one of the chapters actually kind of sent me all their notes from when they had met with the candidate. So whatever you have that is your reason to say she might be a good candidate, just so that the chapter we're referring to isn't starting from scratch. But there's no kind of set, I mean, obviously they have to meet the criteria of the grade point average and the, you know, the various things, but there's no set form to be able to refer a candidate.
Okay. And Louise from chapter K said, of the scholar, how many were awarded out of the 97? I know 3 were awarded in Georgia. Do we know the total amount that were awarded?
Let me see. The total.
Yeah, 97 were actually awarded. Was that the question? We don't know how many
Yeah.
applied.
Yeah.
That's not a stat that Scholar publishes. So we don't know as a ratio what that was, but we know there were 97 awarded.
Sherry brought up a point. I mean, obviously a scholar would be an excellent PEO probably, because they value education so much. But I also want to put a plug in for your stars. Now, granted, they're young and they're going back, they're going to college from high school, but their mothers. Consider having their mothers come to some chapter socials, because that mother obviously has shown that education is important in that family, and thus has a successful daughter. In fact, my chapter has gotten two women who have been initiated who were the mothers of our star candidates. So that's another possibility. Don't think about them. So those are all the questions that I have. Becky, do you have anything else?
I don't.
Does
No,
anybody
again,
else have any questions who's online here?
No, thank you.
Thanks,
Uh,
everybody, for joining. And our email address there is also on the Georgia website. So just there's a contact us button on the website that'll take you to that email address. So feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate. We'll see you next month. Hope to. Thank you for joining us tonight, ladies.
Bye.